Hey everybody. Today I want to talk to you about a concept called I am consciousness having a human experience, and I've shared some memes and some conversations around this before, but today I really wanted to pull that apart, okay? And I wanted to pull it apart from a couple of perspectives. One was a Buddhist perspective, and it's a concept of no self. And then also talk to you about it from, I guess, a quantum mechanics perspective. Now, I'm certainly not a neuroscientist. All the information that I get has already been built upon people that have done many, many studies, and I'm happy to share with you where I got some of this information from too. However, this has been also part of me and my life's journey and my life's search to understand what I am, rather than this physical body. So there's that, that spiritual component of us, rather than up there it's this whole thing. And this also feeds into a lot of the work that I've done around the mind. And some of you may have seen Mind 101, which basically, the first line was, you are not your mind, your mind's a part of you. So then you go, okay, well that's fine, but well, what is me then? Well, you are the awareness that is aware of your mind. So you go, okay, well that awareness, well what is that awareness? Where is that awareness? Well, you're actually consciousness having a human experience. Or consciousness, well what is consciousness? Well, how do I know that I'm consciousness? What is consciousness? Where can I locate consciousness? Okay, so I wanted to present to you a couple of things, all right? So from a Buddhist perspective, there's a concept called the no self, all right? So what they're basically saying is there is no one permanent part of you that you can actually nail down and go, this is who I am. Because when we look at ourselves from a physical level, because a lot of people walk around, we go, well, this is me. Whatever I can feel, this is me. How could it not be me? This has always been me through the time that I was born to where I am now. And when we look at ourselves in the mirror, I look at myself in the camera here, then that's a pretty good estimation of who I am, okay? However, this vehicle here is made up of over 70 trillion cells. And the interesting thing is that those cells aren't part of you when you're born to then when you die. There's only actually one part of you that exists through when you're born and when you die, and that's the retina of your eye. So what I'd like you to do here, and just a nice little exercise, is that think to yourself, which part of me is me? What part of me do I actually identify as myself? Is it my physical body? It could be. Maybe I'm my mind. So am I a conglomerate of all the thoughts? Am I my emotions? What are emotions? Where are they housed? We've got the limbic system within the brain, but that's still a series of synapses and cells. Am I a group of cells in a particular part of the brain? So it's a really good question, and I want you to ponder that as well. Most people will actually look at themselves as the physical body. However, as I was saying, 70 trillion cells, not all of those cells were with you when you were born to when you then pass, okay? Your red blood cells only last 90 days. Your skin cells only last 28 days. Your synapses within your brain last 10 years, okay? So we are constantly generating and regenerating each in this moment. Even the time that I have stood here talking to you and the time that you have listened to me, which we are now around 4 minutes, millions of your cells have died, they've expired, and millions of your cells have been born. So you are constantly in this flux of change. So there's not one part that you can then say, well, this is who I am, because you are a different person now than you were when you first watched this video. You are constantly moving, constantly changing, constantly evolving, okay? So there's not one part of you that you can actually go, yeah, that's me. That's a permanent fixed part of me that's been with me from the time that I was born to the time that I am now, and then to the time that I will die. So then we go, okay, well, what is there a fixed point? And then I can say, well, yes, there is a fixed point, but it's a thing that you don't see. So let's look at this from a atomic level. Okay, so I have over 70 trillion cells. Each one of those cells is actually, we bring it down just to an atom. And with the atom, we have a nucleus, and then we have an electron that moves around it. Okay, so even if you wanted to look at yourself as a series of atoms, then you go, okay, cool, well, maybe that's me. All right. But the interesting thing was with an atom is that if I blew the nucleus of an atom into the size of my fist, the electron that would move around it would be 2.5 kilometers away. So that suggests that there's a lot of space in just one atom. And that suggests that there's a lot of space within us because we are ultimately made of atoms. Wow, okay. So, Marisa, are you actually saying that I'm made of more space than I am of matter? Yes, I am. You are actually 99.999999, I don't know how many it goes, I think 0.6 of space. And you are 0.0004 of matter. So you're actually more space than you are matter. Now, what that suggests is then that space that sits between the matter actually has a field. So you are ultimately energy. And this space holds a field. It is an energy. And that is what scientists now, physicists, are calling consciousness. Now I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey here. The space that exists within me as this is equivalent to the space that exists within you, that is you and your body. So that's how I can then say, well, actually we are one, because we are made up of the same. It doesn't mean to say that I am you, because you have your own human vehicle and I have my own human vehicle. But then we can also say that I am the same as the space that sits between this hand and this hand. So see, there's space there. So I'm connected to that space as well. And then I can also say that I'm connected to the space that sits between me and the moon. And then I can also say that I am the same as and connected to the space that sits between me and the rest of the universe. So the universe is actually consciousness. It is an unlocalized form of consciousness, and we are a localized form of consciousness, but the greater part of us is actually connected to the greater part of the unlocalized form of consciousness. Now, this can be pretty deep and pretty shocking for people, and you might have actually turned this off earlier on because it challenged your parameters of what you actually are. But ultimately, we are the same as the universe. And this is where people say, well, the universe has brought this to me. Well, yes, in a sense, the universe has brought that to you, but you've brought that to you as well. You are the same as, you are stardust. That's what you are. You're everything that the universe is. And you're in this localized form of consciousness. So this is where I say you are consciousness having a human experience. And the greater part of you is the non-physical part of you. And the greater part of you is that consciousness that exists within this space, but also exists within the universe. And here's another blowy thing, all right? And this also comes from physicists. And they're saying that, there's this concept that the universe is constantly expanding. Okay. What the physicists are saying, biophysicists are saying now, is that the universe expands via the data that consciousness in all of its other forms is then feeding to it. So even this conversation that we're having now, what's going on within you, what's arising within you, how you judge it, how you accept it, how you allow it to be there, and what you do with this to then create, all of that information there is data that then is uploaded into the universe, which then informs its expansion. And let's even step it back even further, as I'm stepping back even further here, is that the creator, God, the universe, this unlocalized form of consciousness wants to experience itself, and the way that it's experiencing itself is through all of the localized forms of consciousness that it has created. So all of the experiences that we then have feed back into it, so it can then experience itself. And the beautiful thing that I find with this is that this information, this paradigm of thinking, this belief system, if you want to look at it in that way, because I'm not saying that you need to believe this, but this is where I'm coming from. What it does is it connects me. It connects me to all of humanity. It connects me to life. It connects me to the universe. It connects me to me. It connects me to you. And this is also similar to some of the conversations that I've had, that this is a holographic experience that we have, that we only ever get to experience ourselves via experiencing others. And so whatever is arising within us between our interactions within others is what we can then pay attention to. And by doing that, by doing that, and also by coming from the perspective that I am one, that I am connected to you, that when I create a judgment on you, I'm also then creating a judgment on self, because I'm seeing you as me. But I'm coming from a space of detaching with loving compassion. It doesn't mean that you are me within this physical space, but from a broader perspective, we are made of the same. We are one. And this is a connecting, unifying paradigm of thinking. So that's what I mean when I say you are consciousness having a human experience. You are the space that holds your matter together. And you are constantly changing, you are constantly evolving. And you are not the same person that you were yesterday. You are not the same person that you were 10 minutes ago, 1 minute ago, 1 second ago. You are growing, you are evolving, you are moving forward. So when we then start to look at it that perspective, from a psychological perspective, is that as consciousness, I'm constantly moving forward and expanding. But it is the mind that looks back. It is the mind that looks back to the sense of known, to that sense of known that then creates a story of who you are. Because see how the mind ultimately realizes that there is not one part of you it can identify with. So what it does is it tries to identify itself with the story of looking back, rather than identifying itself as being in the present moment, constantly changing, constantly moving forward, evolving. That's really, really powerful. So whenever your mind starts to look back and creates those judgments and retells that story, then you know you're getting hooked to the mind, you're getting hooked to a story, you're getting hooked to an illusion, because you can't trust your memories as well. I've done some talks about that. Your memory is constantly evolving. Your memory really is, once again, a holographic experience too. Lots to consider there. You might have to watch this video a couple of times. But really, really powerful stuff. And hey, I'm not the only one saying it, but in this moment, this is what I'm saying. And this is where I'm at. Coming out of the spiritual closet, baby. That's where we're at. I hope you find value in that. I really do hope you find value in that. It's a unifying concept. It's a unifying belief. It's a unifying paradigm. And at this moment in time, it is my truth. It is my truth. And hopefully it resonates with your truth as well. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.